Konnichiwa, my name is Logan Charles Luna, and this video is going to be talking about My Hero Academia. More specifically, it's going to talk about the All Might versus All for One fight. So, I'm probably going to be in the minority of feeling this way, but here I go. So, I definitely believe that All Might should have died when he fought All for One in Camino Ward. And this video is going to be just sort of the argument for All Might dying in Camino Ward that night. So everything that follows after the fight between All Might and All for One feels more like All Might died than, oh, he's just retired. So many people play that off as, well, he's a symbol of peace, and if he's not in shape to fight evil, then evil's just going to run amok. And while that is true, it definitely felt more like they had this grieving process, not just for the fall of the symbol of peace, but the same way you would grieve losing a relative or a loved one. And at one point, it might have been Horikoshi's intention to kill off All Might altogether, because Horikoshi does take a lot of influences from Western comics, DC, Marvel especially, his favorite superhero being Spider-Man, which, if you're not caught up with the manga, kind of spoilers right now, but it's definitely, which is why Deku is very Spider-Man-like when he has Black Whip. Deku just kind of swinging around and using Black Whip in certain ways. It's very reminiscent of Spider-Man. So going back to talking about All Might should have died after the All for One fight, it definitely would have served as a better lesson, and it would have made the fight with Bakugo and Deku more impactful once Aizawa stepped in, that, you know, All Might is gone, and Bakugo blames himself for not only his teacher's death, but the death of his favorite hero. And Deku now feels directionless, without a mentor to guide him. And I'm going to be like 100% honest, All Might is definitely the worst teacher in UA, and just a terrible mentor to Deku. All Might he's the definition of those who can't teach, because he's just so used to being the symbol of peace and the world's greatest hero. He has no idea how to actually break it down and think things out of why maybe you do this, why you don't do that. He always just says, that's what a hero does, or that's how I've done it. And he's definitely part of the reason that for the longest time, Deku's just copying All Might in his fighting style, and Deku doesn't have his own fighting style, and Deku just keeps getting messed up and destroyed by using 100%. And there wasn't really any guidance All Might gave Deku during the transition over. He just said, well, this is what I did, so you try it. And losing All Might at such a crucial point, because they definitely both should have died. It shouldn't have just been All Might. All for One should have died. And I feel more strong about that thought right now, having read the latest chapters of My Hero Academia, where I feel like Horikoshi is starting to pick up some of the less interesting story narratives from Western comics, and from shonen manga in general. Because once you do a shonen story for as long as My Hero's been going on, and once you've kind of been going against tropes, you start to backslide and you start to really get into, I generally call it just autopilot, where you're going along with the motions. It's something you understand, so everyone else will understand it. And keep in mind, Shueisha is just all about making money. So if Horikoshi ever did think about killing All Might off at this point, Shueisha probably put the kibosh on that really quick, because All Might sells so much merch, not just in Japan, in America too. Like, it's really hard to find any type of merch for any other character that isn't All Might, Deku, Bakugo, Todoroki, because All Might is the face of My Hero Academia. While Deku is the main character, everyone always gravitates and goes towards All Might's design, All Might's just general being, because he's such an important figure, not only in the My Hero world, but for Shonen Jump and readers in general. All Might is the perfect combination of Captain America and Superman. And All Might definitely is what a lot of people who read Western comics have been missing in, like, Superman. Because All Might definitely embodies that spirit of goodness. He's selfless and righteous, and he doesn't worry about, the end game or what does it all mean. I feel like a lot of people are definitely tired over here in the States of just the philosophical superhero nowadays. Because the philosophical superhero, while an interesting idea in the 90s and early 2000s, of just completely deconstructing a hero, and definitely with Mark Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, and most importantly with Watchmen. Watchmen was definitely what set the bar for reevaluating and deconstructing superheroes, not only in the media of comics, but also within the thoughts of the readers and the people who idolize superheroes. Because at the end of the day, they're either flawed human beings just like us, or unstoppable, unfeeling gods that wouldn't really care about our little petty squabbles, such as our wars and politics and anything like that. And circling back and leaving that tangent about Western comics and superheroes, All Might dying puts so much weight to every other moment that comes after Kamino Ward, especially if All Might were to do this pose, everyone is celebrating. He says, "Next it's your turn," and then he dies. Like, he dies standing on his feet, like Whitebeard in One Piece, and so many other cool comic and shonen manga characters have before him. All Might just dies on his feet, and it brings more of an impact to his final words, "Next it's your turn," and just really puts the pressure on Deku of mastering All for One and becoming the new symbol of peace. And now it puts more of a weight and an impact in Endeavor being number one, because it was just given to him. And it definitely would have been more of a FU to Endeavor if All Might, he dies. Like, he's not there to see Endeavor be number one and be better than he is. And he finally understands that what it takes to be number one is you give everything to being a hero. And now Endeavor doesn't want to do that, especially with the storyline going on later where he does want to reconnect with his family and he feels like he's wasted too much time worrying about becoming the number one hero. It changes everything in such a positive way and in a negative way for the story, for All Might to be taken out of the picture completely instead of just being a comic relief gag character. Like, All Might really hasn't changed. He hasn't grown, and he definitely hasn't become a better teacher since retiring after the Camino Ward incident. And I feel like you need to know when to kill off a character, or else we definitely have the Goku Dragon Ball situation. And this is just Dragon Ball Z, and especially now Dragon Ball Super, where Toriyama, Shueisha, Toei, Shonen Jump, they just refuse to kill off Goku, even though there's nothing for Goku to do or accomplish anymore. And yes, after becoming a Super Saiyan, Goku peaked. And myself and a lot of other readers and people who watch the anime have kind of felt like Goku has remained stagnant. Goku never changed after going Super Saiyan. And going Super Saiyan should have been a life-changing experience for Goku. But as soon as he comes back to Earth and he comes back to fight the androids, he's the same. When he fights Cell, he's the same. Goku didn't learn anything from his experience fighting Freezer. Goku didn't learn anything from his brush with death. Goku didn't learn anything fighting the androids. And Goku especially didn't learn anything fighting Buu. When a character loses a mentor, when a character loses a loved one, a teacher who meant so much to them, it motivates them, it breaks them down, and it causes them to realize that things are different. They can't just rely on the wisdom of their mentor. They have to experience things on their own, and they're going up against a totally new enemy, a different type of beast. Naruto losing Jiraiya to Pain, it was very lackluster, not only because Jiraiya just got taken out so easily, and Jiraiya didn't really pull out any interesting, like he didn't really put up a fight against Pain at all. It's as if Jiraiya just gave up and said, Naruto will get you. And Naruto training to learn the Sage Mode, it definitely brought up a lot of hope. But again, it doesn't take away from the fact that Jiraiya was just killed off for the purpose of the plot. Jiraiya wasn't killed off to motivate Naruto. Naruto was motivated to fight Pain in order to protect the Hidden Leaf Village, not to avenge his fallen sensei. And I feel like Deku being so wholehearted and becoming the greatest hero and losing his guiding light, losing All Might, it would have definitely driven him to new extremes. And in that sense, Bakugo and Todoroki would have definitely grounded Deku and would have guided him, especially Aizawa. Aizawa is a fan favorite My Hero Academia character because Aizawa is actually a good teacher. Aizawa cares about his students, and Aizawa doesn't want to put them in danger because they're just kids. It's not because he doesn't think they're ready. Most of them are ready to be pro heroes, And I feel like the death of All Might could have inspired some better writing in the Overhaul arc, with Overhaul having more weight to him, because there is literally no one who could stop Overhaul. And with Deku finding out that Night Eye had the premonition of All Might dying in Camino Ward to All for One, and then had he had another premonition of Deku dying or Mirio dying to Overhaul, it would have motivated Deku to change fate, to change the timeline, and push forward to make his own destiny. And seeing as how there were insurmountable odds against Deku, especially during the Overhaul arc. But the Overhaul arc was definitely lackluster after such great build-up from the Camino Ward fight and from Bakugo versus Deku. I'm going to finish up this fan art later, and I'm still working on my JoJo October, JoJo October art challenge. I'm on day, I think, 20. Like, I'm working on it right now. It should be done for when I post it up tomorrow. If this gets in the way of that, that's why usually I start them a day before, because sometimes it's over an hour of work on them. And especially when I do YouTube videos like this and I want to finish this. So if you want to follow my artwork, then go follow my social media. It's going to be at LCLX25, both on YouTube and both on Twitter and Instagram. I keep messing that up. If you want to support my artwork monetarily, consider joining the Patreon, and you get special rewards, special perks. You get end of the video shout outs. No patrons still. And you get to vote on fan arts. You get special digital commissions. You can request fan arts that I make YouTube videos for, or just post them on my social media. You can get complete artworks. You can get behind the scenes, like rough sketches on stuff I'm working on that isn't fan arts, but also my own personal artwork. And there's some 18 plus advantages on some of on the higher end tiers. And most things I'm just going to keep kind of like tamed, like regular artwork. But I can definitely spice it up if that's something you want in the digital commission or a fan request artwork. Just probably have to censor it for YouTube and Instagram, definitely. Also, just like a quick aside, I've been doing YouTube for a year now, over a year. And there's really no plan on becoming a full-time YouTuber, like, oh, once I get X amount of subscribers, I'll go quit my job, anything like that. YouTube is definitely a hobby. It's just trying to express things that I normally just keep build up inside. Also, just kind of, you can only do so much in a caption or in a tweet to really get in depth and have your point made. I feel like you need to speak towards that. And definitely, I'm trying to get better at talking and drawing at the same time, because I am one of those artists that will just listen to a podcast or music or a TV show playing in the background. So, yeah, All Might should have died, and it would have made more narrative sense for Deku and the others to push as hard to have a new symbol of peace, to make sure that the world doesn't fall apart. And it would definitely motivate the villains to move on if they see All Might just die in this battle. Like, yes, he won and the other guy died as well, but now there's no opposing force to really overwhelm the bad guys. And that would definitely have better implications on the whole war with Overhaul and his crew. And honestly, in general, I just wish we would have seen more of Overhaul and his crew. Definitely in the anime, way to structure it would have been do all the gentle stuff for the season finale and just have the season end off there after you have a few more episodes of Overhaul versus the heroes, and the heroes like visibly on the field dealing with this erasing quirk bullet. And not just the one where people are getting their quirks boosted up like the steroids, but definitely have pro heroes lose their quirks and show you how dangerous it is to get shot by one of these. It would have definitely made Mirio's sacrifice more impactful, especially because, you know, it's widely argued that Mirio didn't know it was a quirk erasing bullet. So he just wanted to keep his promise to Eri, which is very hero-like of him to not let her get hurt, because he promised her she wasn't going to ever get hurt again. Alright, I'm going to end this video right now because I'm just rambling on. So, sayonara.